Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I am Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom Orr. Tom, how's it going?
Tony, I'm great. We have an exciting week of college football ahead. What is your favorite matchup of two ranked teams this weekend? I couldn't choose.
I also could not choose, mostly because that choice was not made available to us. It's just a bunch of ranked teams against unranked teams. But what there is matchups of ranked teams against teams that were supposed to be ranked or were initially ranked. So maybe there's something there. Like you've got like Oklahoma State going to Iowa State, and Iowa State is a favorite there. We know Iowa State's the number 7 team in the nation based on preseason ranking. So something could happen there. But yeah, it's not a great week if you're looking for number 4 versus number 6 or something like that. But when you have these weeks of ranked teams playing unranked teams, at least you know there will be upsets. I don't know where they'll be, but something will happen.
But that's how these weeks always shake out. The weeks you kind of look at, you're like, those are the ones that every once in a while will just careen wildly into a gas station and explode. Like it's just, we already had Wednesday night. It started with App State beating Coastal. Coastal was 14 in the country, 6-0, and then App State kicks a field goal to beat them at the gun. So it has already started a little bit, but there are a lot of as you scroll through the list, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of 23-point favorites this week, but there are some intriguing games as well.
I mean, it's a week of college football, so it's better than not having a week of college football. So let's preview these top 10 teams, these top 10 games, and just get to it. And I have my ESPN screen up right now, Tom. And the most annoying thing about this ESPN scoreboard screen is the autoplay ads that I'm getting in my headphones right now, and I can't stop it. And I wish there was an actual scoreboard website with no autoplay ads. And the thing is, I can't mute it because then I'm muting you. Is that terrible? A little bit.
Would that improve your life in multiple ways? Look, we don't have time to talk about it.
So I just had to refresh to maybe try to stop that. So let's talk about this first one. We're just going to go through let's go by kickoff times and rankings. We'll talk about the top 10 teams here. Cincinnati at Navy. Number 2, Cincinnati. I always get annoyed when teams schedule triple option teams in midseason, but this, of course, is a conference game, so Cincinnati is not to blame for this. But also, this is not your typical Navy season right now, and it hasn't been for a couple of years. So even if this is one of those like that pops up and it's like, hey, Navy's 5-2 on the year, just because they could beat pretty much anybody in conference. I don't see that being this Navy team. Cincinnati's playing too well, 28-point favorite. This might be a pretty quick game, but I don't think there's any fear for Cincinnati right here. Buckeye fans should definitely be rooting for Navy, but don't expect anything.
No, and this is to your point. Like Navy kind of peaked a few years ago, and then have just there's not that much talent that you can have like multiple great triple option or service academy teams all at the same time. It's like if you look, it's like historically like Air Force was great for a while, and then Navy got good, and then Air Force suddenly wasn't quite as good, and then Navy got Army started getting good out of sort of nowhere when Monken got there, and then all of a sudden now they're getting the triple option talent, and Navy's not quite there. Navy just doesn't have a quarterback this year. That's their biggest issue. They're 1-5. They beat UCF. They had a big comeback win against UCF, but that's it. They had a bunch of drama there. They had to fire their offensive coordinator. He's been the offensive coordinator forever, Ivan Jasper. He's got fired in the middle of the season. Like it's just kind of a mess right now. And when they have a Keenan Reynolds kind of quarterback, that can be a really dangerous team because, then they can pop you over the top and, they can, that is super dangerous in an offense. If the triple option team can throw, they don't have that this year. So they're just, it is just kind of, they're just kind of stuck in the mud, and it's never fun to play a triple option team, but like Cincinnati is not going to win this game by as many points as they want to, because they want to run it up on everyone and stay, as top of the polls as they can, but they shouldn't have any problem beating Navy this weekend.
Yeah, you also don't want to appear un-American and beat Navy by 70 points. That's not going to get you anywhere with the committee at all. So let's move to the next one. Also, 12 p.m. kickoff. Also, not going to be a fun one. Number 3 Oklahoma, 7-0 on the season at Kansas. Oklahoma 38.5-point favorite. We know crazy things have happened with Oklahoma in the Big 12, including crazy things against Kansas. I do not think that crazy thing is going to happen this week, even though Oklahoma starting Caleb Williams, their freshman quarterback, who is this will be his second career start, came off the bench in the Red River rivalry against Texas to lead Oklahoma back, and then had another great game last week. I heard national radio people talking about, is it too soon to start talking about Caleb Williams and the Heisman, and can he win the Heisman?
No.
Tom, let me finish. Can he win the Heisman playing half a season? And no, but then they're like, but if he keeps playing like this, and I'm like, no. And unless you're just talking about average stats, like this is what he's averaging per game. And it's like, but the Heisman, as long as we've known it, has been a total stats award. You can't now start taking stats out of it. Now that Tom and I, we've completely bought into this award as just the pinnacle of individual achievement. And now you're going to take that away by saying you only need to do half the work. And one of the hosts, and I think it was Danny Cannell and Dusty Dvorak, who I listened to in the morning, if that's actually who they are, talking about, Justin Fields was, he missed a couple games. Ohio State only played 6 games, and he was a finalist. And he wasn't. He actually was like 7th or something. And again, that Indiana game knocked him out. But yes, go ahead and play your heart out for 6 or 7 games. It's not enough.
Well, yeah, there was. I'm not even going to dignify him by speaking his name out loud, but there was a national college football writer who has its constant struggles with a mute button on Ohio State conference calls, who had Caleb Williams as like number 3 on his Heisman hot board, and CJ Stroud was not on there. Like, all right, like what are we doing here? Like, do you know why Justin Fields only played 7 games last year? Because that was literally a pandemic, and it was like, that's how many games they played. Like, what? Do you recognize the world around you? Like, Caleb Williams didn't play the first half of the season because he wasn't the start of the first half of the season. Like, sometimes I think that having, like a lot of time to fill on the radio leads you to saying a bunch of stuff you don't actually believe just to get conversation going. Sometimes I think that. Sorry. Not sure why I would speak that out loud then. That was just a random thought, unrelated to anything. Tony, do you think John Pashorek should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame? Because he did bat 1,000 on his career. 1963 came up, was 3 for 3 in his debut game, got hurt, never played again.
You're going to blame a guy for getting hurt? He went 3 for 3. That's better than anybody here.
It's true. 3 more major league hits than I got. So, although, hey, there's still time. If Julio Franco can do it. The dream is alive, Tony. The dream is alive.
True. And you've got a good 20 to 25 years before you're as old as Julio Franco was, his last at bat in the majors. So,
the dream is not alive for Kansas. The dream also probably not alive for Northwestern this weekend. Yeah, they play Michigan. Like, that's probably no.
Well, Michigan's 23.5-point favorite. I wonder if that's too high because Michigan's offense and Northwestern has some pride and they're smart and they're halfway through a season right now where a little bit like Ohio State, they know what they want to do now. Now, can they do it? I don't know. Michigan's offense has started to run the ball a little bit better. We've seen Blake Corum and Hassan Haskins getting a little bit back to their original form, which I think that original form was not who they really are. I think who they really are, we'll see them the rest of the year. But I still think like there's, I don't want to say no hope for Northwestern, but less hope than Rutgers had, and Rutgers had hope. But considerably less hope than Rutgers had in this one.
Yeah, this is one where I think the outcomes range from Michigan wins by a lot to Michigan wins by not very much and is a big cause for concern. I do think you got a little bit of a look ahead concern with Sparty on deck. 7-0 Michigan State versus 7-0 Michigan, potentially a week away. They had a week off. This is all anyone in Michigan has been talking about for weeks now. So. It would be natural to have a look ahead, especially like a home game. And it's, with Northwestern is bad and got flattened by Nebraska. So I could see a flat Michigan coming out and just kind of, like that Rutgers game, 24-14, something like that, maybe. But I don't think that even a flat Michigan team is going to lose to this Northwestern team.
Yeah, I don't think Northwestern can score enough. Speaking of teams that can't score enough. This is a really ugly schedule in the Big Ten. I'm just going to say it. And Illinois is at Penn State this week. Number 7, Penn State. I feel like we don't need to talk about Penn State much anymore, even though they are just 1 week away from being in Ohio Stadium. Penn State a 23-point favorite. Illinois. Did you see Brett Bielema this week throwing his players completely under the bus? The offensive line mostly. And when he said, speaking of the previous coaching staff, like they didn't recruit, they didn't do, they, and there's no me, our, us, I. Mm-hmm. I remember Urban Meyer would always say, like, once you take a job, those are all your players. They're no longer anybody else's players. They're your players. And Brett Bielema clearly, like, these are not my players. There's nobody here in this too deep that has actually contributed. And these are guys that, we talked to at Big Ten Media Days, and these are veterans. And yes, we want you to represent us off the field at Big Ten Media Days, but man, you guys are bad at football. That's what Brett Bielema is saying. And so, it's not a great way to endear yourself to the team, but I guess he's figuring these guys are gone. I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, very clearly he doesn't feel like they're going to be a part of the next great Illinois team. So nuts to them, I guess. It's a real bad look. And, this is not the first time Bert has said something stupid. And so, what you're getting when you hire Bert Bielema. Like that's what you're getting. One interesting note on the Penn State side of thing is that Sean Clifford was practicing at least this week. One other note from the Penn State side of things, the Penn State reporters apparently got to watch some of practice this week, which, boy, that's interesting, because I saw Ben Jones tweeting out pictures of Sean Clifford at practice this week. So, but that was interesting. But so he was at least out there. I think there's a pretty good chance he doesn't play or plays very, very limited minutes this week because they don't need him, and you try and get him, get those ribs healthy for another week. And then, but I if he's practicing this week, that tells me he's probably playing against Ohio State next week.
Maybe he was only practicing, and maybe the media was only allowed in, so they would report that he's practicing, even though they've shut him down for the year. That's just me, my tinfoil being thinking out loud. Tom, I know we're only talking about top 10 teams, but Wake Forest, undefeated number 16 Wake Forest.
That's a little spicy.
Army this week. Wake is a 3-point favorite. This is one of those games where I'm saying you are stupid for scheduling. Like right in the middle of your season, your conference season, you're like, all right. Now, I believe they did have a week to prepare for Army, but just the idea, like, all right, let's go prepare. Let's forget everything we've done. Now we've got to change our defense to handle a good triple option team, and that's what Army is. And that Wisconsin got the best of them. Wake Forest, I think they're in trouble this week. I think I'm going to go Army here.
I think so too. I think this is the one that Wake Forest has kind of been living dangerously for quite a while. They had like an overtime win against Syracuse. They narrowly escaped against Louisville the week before that. Like this is the kind of game where it's like, this is a team that's going to get you. Like you have to go on the road up there, noon kick. They're only a 3-point favorite. Like that. This just feels like that. Wake Forest is going to turn into a pumpkin at some point this year. Like this feels like the week that it happens.
Let's talk about another pumpkin. Fittingly, a program that wears orange. Number 8, Oklahoma State, heading to Iowa State. This is an undefeated Oklahoma State team, still in a national title picture. Iowa State came into the season wanting to be in that title picture. Cyclones are a 7-point favorite. Oklahoma State has continued to win, never looked really good doing it. This is where Iowa State starts to look like themselves and that they ruin other people's seasons. And that's what they do best. They are very, very much like their mascot. Like they just ruin stuff. That's what Cyclones do, and that's what they're going to do to Oklahoma State this weekend.
Yeah, they're just like their mascot. They're a bird with teeth. What? That's not how birds work. What? This was the line this week that I looked at, and I'm like, that can't be right. Did you see the line on this game?
-7 for Iowa State.
Yes, number 8 undefeated Oklahoma is a touchdown underdog in Ames. Like, oh boy. Now, do you remember 2011? Oklahoma State was unbeaten, probably going to the national championship game. Do you remember where their season went off the rails? Ames, Iowa. Lovely.
Tom
Ames,
Herman
Iowa.
And Iowa State.
Yeah, that was, I think, a Thursday night game. I feel like that was
Friday. I was watching it at a basketball game.
Yeah, that was a, weren't you watching basketball?
It was after the game, so it was probably the Thursday.
Okay, yeah, it was. Yeah, that this would not be the first Oklahoma State season to be ruined by Iowa State, and yeah, that line, I looked at that and I was like, I mean, I get it because I don't think Oklahoma State's really that good. This just feels like between Oklahoma State and Wake, like this is the week that you get a couple of those. You know, when we have the Ohio State conversation, who needs to lose? It's like oh yeah, I forgot about them. Well, they're obviously going to lose. Like this feels like the week that you cross a couple of those guys off the list.
And a very important crossing off the list is the next game I want to talk about, which is number 10, Oregon at UCLA. UCLA favored by 2 in this game. It would be best for Ohio State fans, for Ohio State if Oregon loses. I don't think it's necessary, but just to get them out of the complete picture, go ahead and root for UCLA in this one. And really, this is a game where Oregon has not looked good for a while now. UCLA should be able to, push them around and be more physical with them. And I know Oregon likes to view themselves as a physical team, and this is something that UCLA has worked on. So it'll be interesting to see how those two things shake out. But I'm going with UCLA in this one. I don't like relying on UCLA for anything because it usually backfires. Mm-hmm. But in a vacuum, you put these two teams together, as long as that vacuum is at UCLA, and I like the Bruins here, just based on Oregon has been begging to lose a game to this point, and I think UCLA will oblige them.
Yeah, that's one where just it's another one like Wake Forest, like Oklahoma State, where it's like, okay, at some point this is going to happen. Because you thought that about Oklahoma, but then Oklahoma got their new quarterback, and it's like, oh, well, maybe not. Oregon has not yet gone to a new quarterback. Oregon has just kind of been like winning every game by 7 points and not in like particularly convincing fashion against bad competition. The Ohio State game looks like such an incredible outlier on their schedule at this point. So yeah, I don't know that I believe in UCLA, but I don't really believe in Oregon either. So the great news is someone has to win this game. Pac-12 football, someone has to win this game.
Who do you believe in less? Speaking of, Tom, all of these segues have been tremendous. Speaking of believing in less, let's talk about Tennessee at number 4, Alabama.
Watch out, I'm going to throw mustard at you. That was a terrible transition. Here comes the mustard.
No. Alabama, a 25-point favorite. Feels kind of low, actually, now that I see that live and in color. But Tennessee can score some points. Alabama's defense is not great yet. Alabama's offense is very good. Sometimes it's better than other weeks, and Tennessee's defense is, neither here nor there. This is one of the best one of the longest running rivalries in the SEC. It used to be a great rivalry, from what I've been told, from what my the grandfathers down at the coffee shop have said. But I don't think this one is going to be much. If Josh Heupel wants to show like, hey, no, you guys could take it seriously, maybe you keep it within 10, and that's something to build on. That would be the best win Tennessee has had since like their last close loss to Alabama. I don't know, was it like 2015 or so, where they lost by like a blocked extra point? Terrence Cody blocked an extra point or a field goal or something to keep Tennessee from winning or tying.
Yeah,
like, 2014, something like that. The best win in perhaps Tennessee history. That close loss, but I don't think there's no close losses this week for them. I don't see.
No, and I mean, I have not seen an update on Hendon Hooker, who went out at the end of that game last week, and then Joe Milton had to come in, and that was great until Joe Milton forgot where he was and what was going on in the game. Then it didn't go so well. But yeah, this is just one of those, like, you want to talk about this game not being what it used to be. Do you know what this rivalry is called, Tony?
No, I don't.
It's called the third Saturday in October. Tony, do you know when they're playing this game?
Tell me, Tom.
On the fourth Saturday in October. Like, what?
You're gonna hold math against these people?
It's literally called the third Saturday in October. Like, it's like being like, yes, the traditional Detroit Lions Thanksgiving game played this year on Easter. What? No, that's not. No, it's literally right there in the name. But no, it's altogether too much to ask.
Do you not count the first October, the first Saturday, or do you not count the second or the third? Like, I don't.
This must be some kind of SEC leap year that we're not aware of.
All right. And then, of course, Ohio State, Indiana. If you want to hear us talk about that, you can go listen to yesterday's show, which you may have, I assume you already did. This week is also the USC Notre Dame game, which, who cares?
Speaking of things that used to matter.
Yeah, exactly. And just no reason to talk about that one. But I think that'll wrap it up, Tom. You got anything else that you wanted to touch on before we get out of here?
No, just looking forward to what will undoubtedly, as soon as as soon as we started talking about this week and it was like, not much of a week. Like, yeah, that's immediately when it just turns into everything exploding all at once. So should actually be a fun week now.
Undefeated San Diego State may go down at Air Force, also one to keep an eye on with that triple option stuff going on. So that will do it for today's show. Thank you all for listening. Please go ahead and enjoy a wild and fun Saturday of football. And then we will be in Indiana Saturday. We'll talk to you afterwards for our, we'll talk to you before, we'll talk to you after for our instant reaction show. So you can find us, go ahead and youtube.com/Buckeye Scoop. And you'll be, go ahead and subscribe. You'll be notified when we go live, or you can just keep refreshing and waiting for us. And we'll be there for you. We will talk to you then. Have a good one. See you later.